Hey, we're live. So yeah, we'll just talk a little bit here while we get people on. I'm live with Todd Smith of Joy Organics. Thanks for joining me today, Todd.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting conversation. We've had a few members reaching out to me like, I'm excited to hear what you and Todd are going to talk about today because there's just so much conflicting information out there on these cannabinoids that are coming from hemp like delta 8 and delta 9, and also just what the future of the CBD industry as a whole is. And there's nobody in the industry that has a better pulse on that than you, in my opinion, because you're working with so many brands. Like, I think you might be the only one that's helped launch more brands than me in the industry. So it's just great to be able to we value your time and your expertise and your feedback. So I am excited as well to hear this, your knowledge on the changing of the industry. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, there's I think a lot of exciting times ahead. We just got done with a board meeting this morning, and we view all of the developments for Joy Organics in a very positive way. I'm sure other companies may not view it the same way, but everybody who's on this video cast should be viewing it in a positive way. The people who should be sweating are the Charlotte's Webs and the Plus CBD oils, and some of the publicly traded companies who are losing money, and anybody else who's losing money that's not publicly traded. But for those of us who are profitable, obviously these are good times.
Right. And just real quick, anybody that's watching, if you could share the link to the video, because sometimes it's hard to find it. So if you could do me a favor, if you're watching this, just share the link on the video out there in the group, just so other people can see that we're live now. Appreciate that. Sorry to digress there. So I noticed you posted the other day, Todd, your sales are actually going up and really impressively. And what can you attribute to that?
Um, we're just doing a lot of things right, which is what you've got to do. I mean, you've got to be looking at the numbers. You got to know where to spend money and where not to spend money. Sometimes, with any marketing, you don't see the results, the same day or the same week that you do the marketing. It's kind of a cumulative effect. But yeah, we grew almost 10% or right around 10% last month, which was our second largest month of growth in the last 12 months.
Nice.
November, we had a big month of November over October. But we've grown in 10 of the last 12 months. Not double digit growth. 2 of the months have been double digit growth, but all the rest of them have been single digit. And that's what our goal has been, is just to continue to grind away and gain market share every month.
Nice. And, from my outside perspective, what I notice about Joy Organics compared to almost any brand that I've ever talked to in the industry is communication. You guys are just excellent at communication and the service. You really get the feeling when you reach out to Joy Organics that you guys really care, and it's just true. It's not fake. And so it's like, and you guys are just so responsive, and so that's the key. Like, so many brands are just not responsive. They get to you when they get to you, and it's just like, why would you want to work with a brand like that or buy products from a company like that? So I think from my perspective, that's where you guys really outshine a lot of companies.
Yeah, and the truth be told, we've launched over 1,000 private label brands, and if I was to guess, I'd bet 50% of them are slow in responding to emails and phone calls from their customers. Basic things. These are basic things in providing a great customer experience, which is what we're all about at Joy Organics. We're very focused on creating a great experience for our customers, and very focused on trying to convert the highest number of visitors into customers through all the different marketing strategies that we're employing, especially things that have nothing to do with driving traffic, but just, whether it's retargeting, whether it's, putting people in the right email flows, saying the right things in those flows. It's a lot of refining and tweaking, but, we've done that, and it's paying off.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That, like, so many brands come to me and they think Facebook ads is going to be their magic bullet that's going to solve all their problems. So it's like, no, you have to have like 10 or 15 other spokes in the wheel. It's omni-channel marketing. So always remember that, people, like, especially a lot of startup brands, they don't even have any traffic yet, and they're like, I got to figure out Facebook ads. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, that's the last thing you should be thinking about as a startup. You need to get traffic first. And so I'm glad that you're saying, you have all these different marketing channels, and I know you guys invest heavily in SEO as well, which is something that some brands can't do, because if you can't spend at least 5,000 a month on SEO, I wouldn't even touch it. It's just, yeah, it's not worth, unless you have that kind of budget. There's other ways of getting traffic. I'd rather give away $5,000 of free product every month to people to get their testimonials than throw it down on SEO, because I know brands that are spending 50, 100,000 a month on SEO or more even. And so, that's something to think about. But what we're talking about today, people, is there's so much confusion out there with Delta 8 and Delta 9 and all the other hemp cannabinoids that have come out, and what's going to happen with the farm bill. And there's just nobody really knows, but I'm would love to hear your opinion, and maybe things that I don't know. And but I read somewhere the DEA is saying they'll ban all synthetic cannabinoids. But does that mean if it's extracted naturally, like a rosin press, is that going to be legal? Like, so that was one question that popped in my head. And then also, why does the DEA keep contradicting themselves? Because Sean Mitchell of the DEA stated in 2021, the only thing that is a controlled substance is Delta 9 THC greater than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. So it's like they're all over the map. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me just kind of back up, and let's start with CBD, and then we can transition into the Delta 8s and the Delta 9s and the synthetics. And if that's okay, Matt, the on the CBD front, just to kind of let all of you know where our heads are and what we're having discussions as far as a group of owners. The FDA has made it very clear that they're not going to regulate CBD as a dietary supplement, and that they're going to create a new pathway. And in talking to our law firm, which is the law firm that represents the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, obviously very knowledgeable about what's going on in this space, and they're the law firm that works with many of the states who are implementing laws and also working with the federal government on their plans. They've made it clear that for a new pathway to be created, number one, there's got to be a bill that passes the House and the Senate. It has to have the same language. You can't have one bill pass the House and a separate bill pass the Senate. You have to have the same bill pass the House and the Senate that would force the FDA to create this additional pathway. And right now, I think there's 7 pathways. You've got over-the-counter drugs, you've got foods, you've got dietary supplements, you've got drugs, you've got medical devices. There's multiple different pathways. And so what the FDA is saying is they're going to have to create a new pathway. And the only way that's going to happen is if the House and the Senate agree on a bill, which we don't think is going to happen between now and 2025. I mean, if I'm a congressman, I'm telling my assistant who's bringing me issues, don't bring me anything that's not a high priority, and regulating CBD would not make my top 100 list. And right now, because there's not a whole lot of people who are fighting for legislation on CBD, I don't see anything happening until after the 2024 election. So that means into 2025 would be the soonest that I would see this reaching the radar, if even then, of the Senate and the House members. And then once the FDA is told they have to create a new pathway, obviously they're going to be given a time. And so if we just take 6 months as an example, and then after they create this, there's going to be, a period of time for feedback. So another 6 months. So we don't think CBD is going to be regulated by the FDA for at least 3 years. Nice. And the reason we view that in a very positive way, and the reason all of you should view this in a positive way, is because when CBD is regulated, it'll be found in Walmart and Target and every other store in America. And it won't be you that has your product on the shelves, and it won't be Joy Organics that has their product on the shelves. It will be the Nature Sunshine that's already on the shelves, that's launching a new CBD SKU where they've got an extremely small margin. I mean, you look at Nature Sunshine as an example, they did $100 million in sales in the most recent quarter and made $800,000 in profit on $100 million.
That's terrible. Why would you even want to run a business like that?
Yeah, so they've got no margins. And so, when CBD is found in every store in America, it's going to be hard for you to compete with that as small business owners, and hard for Joy Organics to compete, because we don't have an interest in going after the retail market. And that's how Charlotte's Web and CV Sciences and everybody else is losing a fortune, and why Hemp Fusion basically has gone out of business now, that owns Sagely. They got bought for 1.8 million in stock from a dispensary. Maybe it wasn't even 1.8 million. It was some very low number. I mean, basically,
Wow.
they're non-existent. And
I saw they were in like GNC and everywhere like a long time ago. They were one of the first movers into big retail. I remember Hemp Fusion, like even maybe 5 years ago or more even. So that's kind of sad. But you're right. I've talked to numerous Fortune 500 companies that are just waiting on the sidelines for that regulation to come, and they have way more money than you guys watching it. So it's pretty scary.
Yeah, and Lord Jones announced they were going out of business this week. Their last day in business is the 23rd of June, and it's real simple. I mean, these companies who are losing money with no view of regulations on the near term are going to be pulling the plug, and investors who are investing in a lot of these companies who are losing money are going to be, saying, hey, I'm not going to continue to throw good money after bad money. And so I predict there's going to be a lot of CBD brands who are going to go out of business over the next 12 months, because I think anybody who's looking at what's being said can see there won't be regulations for at least 2 years, but realistically 3 years. So, all these companies who've been pitching to their investors, hey, with regulations, you're going to make millions. Now, everybody knows there's not going to be regulations. And so nobody's going to be making millions by having their product found in every store in this country. And I think a lot of this was misleading to investors anyway, because, if we look at who's best positioned, it's the brands who are already in these stores who are best positioned. And if they're going to carry an outside brand, it'll likely be a Charlotte's Web of the world that's already got distribution in these stores. It's not going to be, those of you watching, and it's not going to be Joy Organics. So this is great news, because of the fact that, number one, products aren't found in every retail store. So you have the ability to compete for the market that's out there. And, you might say, well, I can't do, legitimate Facebook advertising or Instagram advertising or, Google advertising. Well, just keep in mind that when regulations are put in place and advertising is allowed, you'd be buried with people's budgets in that area. So you wouldn't be competing anyway. Even if you could do that advertising, you'd be buried. So the longer that it goes without CBD regulations allows smaller companies the ability to grow without the competition of product being found in the stores at a very low margin. It allows them to grow and develop their brands, but people are going to have to be smart in the way they do it, smart in the way they spend their money. And so that's kind of my insight into what's going on with the CBD industry, and at least how we're planning on things internally here. As it relates to the Delta 8 and Delta 9 and what's going to happen there, there's been a lot of talk about whether this would be addressed in the 2023 Farm Bill, but all the indicators I'm getting is that Farm Bill is going to be pushed back. Again, this is just not a priority for most people to make this their top agenda item with all the other things going on. I mean, right now you got the Republicans who have nothing better to do but to call the Democrats names, and the Democrats nothing better to do than to call the Republican names. And so while they're swearing at each other and hating each other, nothing's getting done, which may not be a bad thing, but it is what it is. But I certainly don't see this reaching the radar and being a priority. And so if the Farm Bill gets pushed back where the THC side does not get addressed, then that means that it's going to really be left up to the states to determine what they want to do. But from a federal government, I don't see anything happening with THC for probably 12 months at a federal level. Now the DEA could surprise all of us, but they've had an opportunity to surprise us and they've not done it so far. But what we're starting to see now is more states saying, hey, we need to take measures in our own hands. And, Colorado is one of those states. And quite honestly, Colorado's objective is that they make an exorbitant tax on their cannabis sales in the state. And then they're not making that tax on the Delta 8, Delta 9 products being sold out there legally at this point. So they want to get those products off the shelves and not being distributed in their state, so that people have to go to the dispensaries to buy those products so they can make more money. And obviously they want to protect the dispensary market and probably, try to control what's going on in the Delta 8, Delta 9 space.
Yeah, it's a great point. To me, there's a huge war going on between the licensed cannabis holders and the hemp industry, because most of those licensed cannabis businesses, like you said, they want that business coming to their dispensary, not to a smoke shop or a vape shop selling Delta 8 or Delta 9 from hemp. And so, like in Maryland recently, similar laws were passed, I think, to Colorado, where they just outlawed all the cannabinoids coming from hemp, and a lot of stores had to close their doors in Maryland because of that law. And that was like a week or two ago, I think. And so that battle is happening. But what I've said from the beginning is, if you're a licensed cannabis brand, why don't you just launch a hemp brand? Like, join the party. And some brands have done that. And like one of the biggest cannabis THC drink brands launched their hemp Delta 9 drink. Half their sales now are coming from their hemp Delta 9 drink. And so they were smart. Other cannabis drink brands are losing out because they didn't go that route. They're trying to sell in dispensaries, and it's harder. And so I don't know. I mean, there's a real battle happening. And so it looks like you said, it's a state by state thing that's going to be a patchwork of confusing laws. And my best advice, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but if it was me, I would just be focused on selling online. And then obviously, if you have a storefront in those states, you're going to get in trouble, versus selling online. Maybe a person would be less likely to be enforced upon. But I'm not telling anyone what to do, but that's maybe what I would do. And so, like, what are your thoughts on that battle between big marijuana and the hemp industry?
Well, the marijuana companies hate what's going on with the hemp companies. So that's maybe one of the reasons why they're not joining the party, is because they have such despise for what is taking place in the hemp industry, selling, whether it's synthetically derived Delta 8, Delta 9, or the Delta 9 like we sell that's not synthetically derived. So I think they've been hoping that the states would do something to stop this before now, because obviously they don't want to go and launch, a bunch of new products and then they have to immediately pull them from the market when there's regulations. And so, I mean, and if I'm to be honest, I'm surprised that for sure the Delta 8 thing has lasted as long as it has. I mean, it's been 3 years, and now I think there's 20 something states that have banned Delta 8. And, I think that, we're starting to see states now that are banning the synthetically derived cannabinoids. I believe I was looking at West Virginia recently, and they're banning all synthetically derived. Obviously, what we sell here at Joy Organics and what we offer to you, either through our blank bottle program or our private label program or our wholesale program, these are all derived differently than using a synthetic process. We're not converting CBD into a Delta 8 or a Delta 9 cannabinoid or a molecule like what is taking place in the industry. So if I'm a state regulator, I'm gonna have it affect everything rather than just synthetically derived. I'm surprised to read some of the states who are only doing synthetically derived. And right now, from a standpoint of an online business not being able to ship product into a state, there's only 2 states that we don't ship product into at this time, and that's Oregon and Idaho.
I knew you were going to say Idaho. Yeah, and Oregon also seems to be really heavily favoring big marijuana, right?
Yeah, and they've got the limit is 2.5 milligrams of THC per serving, but they limit the amount per container, and so we'd have to repackage ours for Oregon that we're just not willing to do right now. As more states pass laws that might limit THC levels and the amount per container, then certainly we'll look to repackage our products in containers that work within those states. But right now, it's not worth it to do it for 1 state or 2 states.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so just so you're hearing that, people, like, I would say I talked to the biggest lab in the CBD industry that tests more than any other lab. I would say maybe 95% or more of the brands out there that are supplying Delta 9 and Delta 8 is synthetic crap. So you heard what Todd said. If you want some clean Delta 9, hit Todd up or just contact me and I'll get you in contact with Jill that works with Todd, because it's so important, people, these isomers that are occurring when these synthetic extraction methods are used. We don't even know the potential damage that these isomers can do to the human body. It hasn't even been studied yet. There's over 35 isomers that can happen in a cannabis extraction, and we don't even know what those effects can be to the body. So why would you even risk your customers like that? So
And there's no gain. There's no benefit, because if you look at a gummy, the cost of the gummy is a gummy. You know, I mean, our cost of soft gels is far less than our cost of gummies, and we sell the soft gels for more than our gummies. Gummies are expensive, even if there's no cannabinoid in them. So the cost difference between a Delta 9 cannabinoid like we put in ours and a synthetically derived Delta 9 cannabinoid, the difference in price is this much. I mean, there's no benefit of selling a synthetically derived product that is already being shut down. It's already been shut down in over 20 states. And, you know, with unknown safety data, when you can sell something that, you know, is not synthetically derived. And, you know, right now, I mean, there's a big growth toward Delta 9 from Delta 8. Delta 8 got its popularity because it was the first cannabinoid that people, you know, converted and sold through like convenience stores that would get people high. But now the Delta 9 is you know, a lot more search volume for Delta 9 than Delta 8, and a lot more transition now to Delta 9.
Did you hear what he just said, people? That's really important. Like, yeah, if I was launching a brand today, and here's another question for you, like I would be focused on Delta 9 naturally occurring like you're doing, and also possibly THCA flower, but I would look further into that. But I see the demand really going up for THCA flower. Is that a viable business model, or what are your thoughts on the THCA flower?
I don't have an opinion. I mean, you know, we jumped on the THCV bandwagon and, you know, introduced a THCV, you know, gummy, and we just made the decision today to pull it from the market. It's just not selling. There's no search volume for THC and, you know, one of the reasons why we're successful at Joy Organics is because we've only introduced products to the market that people are looking for, where there's search demand volume. You know, I mean, if you type in any keyword, I mean, type in CBD wholesale, we're like ranked #1. Type in CBD private label, we're ranked #1 or 2. Type in CBD soft gels, we're ranked. Type in CBD salves, we're ranked #1 for that. CBD soft gels #1. You know, USDA organic tinctures #1. You know, even THC gummies were like ranked #11. So we're moving up the list there. And so we just don't introduce products that people aren't looking for. And there's a lot of people who've created a lot of products that, you know, there's not search volume for. So I would say for any of you who are looking at creating some new product, if there's not people searching for that at a high level, you're wasting your time. Don't introduce products that the market's not looking for. That's how you lose money on product development, how you lose time on product development, and then you lose money when you throw away the product, just like we're going to do with our THCV gummies that we're going to throw away. Wow. Because, you know, the market just wasn't there. Even we introduced a CBG tincture, and, you know, we don't sell a lot of those, and I wouldn't be surprised we're ranked right up at the top of the list for that as well. People are looking for CBD gummies, CBD tinctures, CBD capsules and soft gels, and they're looking for THC gummies. That's what the market's looking for. And then the CBD topicals.
Yeah, for sure. And that's funny because like about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, I used to say CBN is going to be the next big cannabinoid, and it just hasn't happened. And Delta 8 just came out of nowhere. Nobody could have predicted Delta 8. I don't think. I don't know anybody that predicted D8. And so, yeah, THCV too. It's just like the average Joe consumer, they barely know what CBD is, let alone THCV. That can be an appetite suppressant, I believe, and other good benefits, and you guys were just too ahead of the game on that one, it sounds like. And but yeah, it's just a moving target. I always say that this industry is constantly moving, and you got to be able to hit the target, but also just do the fundamentals like you guys have always done, and just constantly building the business by doing the fundamental things to build any business, like communicating. Like,
yeah. And just so you know, I just typed in THCV gummies in Google, and we are the #1 brand listed. We're ranked #2 behind the 5 best THCV gummies. And even with being ranked, right there #2, we still don't hardly sell any of them. So you've got to, you don't want to assume that even if you got all the search volume for a product that you're going to make money, because anybody who's typing in THCV gummies in Google, they're seeing our ad, and they have the ability to buy our product. So that's why you got to be introducing products that are popular, that are in demand.
Yeah, and also just finding an audience and not just trying to sell to everybody unless you have a really big budget. Like Joy Organics has a significant budget to spend on SEO and other things to be able to reach those customers. So in my opinion, the less budget you have, the more niche down you need to get to capture that audience, and then maybe roll out to a bigger audience. Like one of the brands we work with, they focused only on stress, and they had one tincture for stress, and all their copy on the website was about stress and all the testimonials, and they skyrocketed really fast. And they had a great product and great branding and packaging and all that to go along with it. And then once they got to like 15,000 emails organically and 100,000 a month in sales, they got rid of the stress message and opened it up and rolled out a few more SKUs. But a lot of brands, they think they can just sell CBD to everybody with a small budget, and it's hard to get those messages out there to appeal to everybody. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, my advice to anybody who's watching this is you need to be focused on a niche. If you're trying to be a one-size-fits-all company and your target market is everybody who can breathe and fog up a mirror, I would say the odds are very high that you're going to fail. Just like the company you referenced that focused on stress. They focused on something. They became known as the stress company. One of my friends owns Beam, and they're kind of known as the sleep company. Yep. And targeting athletes. And so, right now to get into the market and be the one-size-fits-all company that's targeting the whole world, like a Charlotte's Web, I think is a mistake. I mean, our target market are women between 35 and 65 that shop at Whole Foods, that care about their environment. And that's why if you go to our website, you're going to see, a woman right on our front page, hero spot. Our target market are, we're clear on our target market, and all our messaging, all our colors, everything that we do is tailored to that market, and we continue to grow in that market.
That makes sense. And like, I talk to so many brands, Todd, they'll be like, yeah, we target women 35 to 50. And then you go to their website and there's like a guy doing this on the homepage. And it's like, like, it's not congruent. And do you guys target, that audience is really heavily on Pinterest. Do you guys target Pinterest at all? Or,
we have not to this point, made money on anything we've done in social media outside of what we've been paying your firm on the Facebook advertising.
Glad to hear that.
We get, we can see where all of our business comes from. We get very little business from Facebook, very little business from Instagram, very little business from any of these sites. We kind of view our role on them as, kind of building loyalty with customers so that they are seeing us when they go there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we have not figured out how to make money on any of these sites. We're even trying right now on TikTok, and, we think that we've got a kind of a shadow ban on us where, TikTok is now not doing anything to help our algorithm and
yeah, they hate hemp. One of our clients, she was exploding on TikTok. She got 1 million followers, and they were cool with her at first because I guess they didn't hate hemp at that point. And then they were nice enough to contact her, and they told her, stop talking about hemp and CBD, and we won't shut your page down. And so she had to stop, and now she just does like meditations for women and other things like that. But yeah, they're just like not cool with hemp. And we even experimented with TikTok ads, and it just didn't work. Like, it's just the algorithm isn't there yet. And same with Twitter ads. We tried that recently, and we were Twitter was going to be the big next hope to run ads, and it's just not there yet, unfortunately. And we are in talks with them trying to get the algorithm straight. Like, if, hey, you want us to spend ad dollars, we got to be able to convert. And so it's a big deal there. And so, like, one last question, Todd, or if you want to cover any other things, I'm here. Like, let's say you were launching a brand today in this environment. What would you focus on as far as the audience and the products, or would it be the same thing you're doing now at Joy?
Well, I mean, if we were starting from scratch right now, we would, part of our research would be, first of all, we would know without a question, we got to focus on a niche. We would absolutely not try to be a one size fits all company. And we would do some research to determine what niche we believe we could be most successful in, combined with what niche we would have an interest in. I mean, if somebody's very much into outdoors, then it might make sense that their niche be, targeting, sportsmen, people who are golfing and fishing and people who are outdoors. For somebody who has no interest in being outdoors, to launch, a brand, targeting people who are outdoor people, I think that probably wouldn't be of interest, and they probably wouldn't be very good at it either. So I would say it's a combination of, one, where do you think there's a market, and two is, where do you have an interest? But you need to have it so when people land on your website, they know what you do, and they need to know that within a few seconds. And they need to connect. I mean, it's just like if you're on vacation and you meet somebody from your state, you're like, really? You live in Florida? What part of Florida? You live in Sarasota? Really? Me too. What part is, you got that instant connection. And that's what happens when you, your messaging is targeting an audience, is you have the ability to build that connection with that audience, versus somebody says, where are you from? I'm from Florida. Where are you from? Michigan. Okay, great. Nice meeting you. You just, you don't have that same connection. And we all know that we immediately connect with people that we have things in common with. And that's no different than the way that we connect with brands.
I love that advice. It's so important to me. Like, that message at the top of the fold on your website, what is that powerful message? So when they hit that site, within a second, they know what you do and what they're there for, if they're in the right place or not. Like the stress brand I mentioned earlier, it said goodbye stress really big at the top of the fold. So if I'm in pain and I go to that site, maybe I'm not in the right place, which is fine. We don't want to appeal to everybody. And I met a lady recently. She doesn't know how to delegate. She makes all of her products. She does all the marketing, just everything, runs the whole brand. She did 900,000 online last year and netted 465,000. I'm like, that's amazing. You're doing great, but you need to delegate it out. But she was smart. She niched down to candida sufferers and vitamin C. And so people, you got to really think like that. It doesn't have to be an audience of 400 million people. Like, I don't know how many people suffer from candida, but I don't think it's 400 million. And so just finding that audience, and like Todd said, the audience that you want to talk to, the information that you care about disseminating to that audience. And so it doesn't have to be a massive thing. Like, or for instance, I'm helping a brand rebrand into going after the diabetes audience, and nobody's really doing that in CBD that I know of. And we're not going to talk about diabetes. We're going to say this will help promote healthy blood sugar. And so we know that we can't make claims about diabetes, but I can say this promotes healthy blood sugar all day long and not get in trouble. And as long as the ingredients do that, which they are formulating a product for that. So it's about just really finding that audience and getting obsessed with the audience, and giving them the messages that motivates them to be a part of your brand. Like my partner Paul said, you want to read books on starting a cult, and I laughed at him, and he goes, brands are cults. And I was like, yeah, you're pretty much right, man. It's so, just think about that. Like, you look at Aloe Yoga. I don't know if you're familiar with them, Todd, but they're basically a cult, and they exploded. Like, they're everywhere now. All the cool kids wear the Aloe Yoga gear, and it's just amazing what they've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Apple's same way. I mean, they got the highest loyalty rate of any product or service sold in the marketplace. So
Yeah, I all I buy is Apple products. Or you look at Harley Davidson, they're the second tattoo after mom is the Harley Davidson logo. So that's a strong brand, and they are so focused on being the Maverick Outlaw brand. Even though the people that buy Harleys typically aren't, they're doctors and lawyers. They want to be outlaws on the weekend or whatever, but they're not outlaw. Like, I mean, of course, you got the biker gangs that ride Harleys, but those are the 1%. Like, the 99% are doctors and lawyers riding those Harleys, and they just want to be outlaws. So you have to create that ethos or that myth about your brand that people want to jump on board. And so that's key, is what does your brand stand for? And like, for instance, one of my clients, he's big into the Second Amendment, and he teaches people how to shoot guns in gun ranges. So every 1,000 bags of coffee that he sells, there's a golden ticket inside, and you win a free AR-15 rifle. And so, hey, the conservatives that love the Second Amendment are going to love that brand. The liberals that don't like guns are going to hate that brand. But he wants that on purpose because he stands for the Second Amendment. Like, I don't carry guns, but I will fight for somebody's right to be able to carry a gun. And so, like, it's just about what do you believe in and stand for that. You don't have to appeal to everybody. Sometimes it's good to piss off half the audience like that.
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, if you look at what Foria is doing, I mean, Foria in this space has probably done it better than anyone, where, they are going after the sex market. And, you land on their site, every newsletter you get from them, everything is targeting, sex. And if you haven't signed up for their newsletters, they're quite entertaining. They've just gone after that market. Anybody who's not into the kind of language they use and their stories aren't interested in that brand, but those who are extremely loyal. Because, Foria, I don't see them being ranking for anything, but yet they continue to maintain very good traffic numbers because of the loyalty they built, because of they're connecting with people that are resonating with that brand.
That's a great point and a great example of a brand that to me is polarizing, because like one of my partners that I won't mention their name, but they didn't want to work with Foria because of that. And so, yeah, but they appeal to a certain audience. And so you don't need to appeal to everybody, people. And, but yeah. And just to recap, as far as CBD and Delta 8 and Delta 9, well, definitely with CBD, we see it's just going to drag out longer and longer, which is great for all the smaller brands. Build your brand, people. Don't think about the products. Build a real brand that stands for something, so that when they finally do have regulations, these big companies will want to buy you out at least, and not just crush you, hopefully. Or they might try. What I've always heard is, first they try to crush you, then if they can't crush you, then they'll buy you out. So you got to have a strong foundation in order to survive that. And so people just, on the D8, D9 side, it sounds like it's going to be a patchwork of state laws. So make sure you have a lawyer that understands what they're talking about when it comes to that. There's a lot of lawyers out there that won't really. I remember meeting with one of the biggest law firms in the hemp industry, and it wasn't the main guy. It was one of their junior lawyers, and I knew more than him. I was like, how do you not know this, dude? I'm not even a lawyer. So you got to be careful who you hire. And what is the firm that you work with, Todd?
It's Frost Brown Todd. But I mean, for all of you as small business owners, I recommend to spend as little money on legal as you can. If you're in touch with what's going on in your state and there's a law that's going to impact you in your state, you're going to hear about it. You can Google it. You can read about the law. and know its application to you. It costs, we pay whatever, $375 an hour to our law firm. And so obviously we want to be smart with all of our money. And so that means that we don't engage them on things that we can research ourselves.
Yeah, definitely do the research, people. And then if I'm launching a new brand or bringing out a new product, I might call a lawyer for an hour just to run it by him and just say, what are your thoughts on this? If a person were to do this, and never, like when I talk to lawyers, I never say, I'm going to do this. I say, if a company was to do this. So talk to them like that. And they'll answer you better that way. I found, like, if I say I'm going to do this, they don't want to tell you things. So you have to speak like in weird ways with these lawyers.
Yeah. We had to do the same thing when we were thinking about venturing into the THC market. I mean, it was a big decision for us to make as a company. So of course we, spoke to our law firm, got an opinion letter from them. We provide that opinion letter to our insurance company and to our merchant processor. But yeah, if you're going to introduce a new CBD tincture or new, CBD, gummy or something like that, you don't need to do any research. Just, figure out who you want to buy that product from. And one of the things that, I think is a real advantage to those of you who don't know much about us at Joy Organics, but, if you join our blank bottle program, you can buy any product that we sell, just one unit at a time with no label. And we provide the label templates. So all you need to do is, say, I want to buy 3 bottles of this and 2 bottles of this and 4 bottles of this. And in the meantime, we provide you the label templates so that all you need to do is then add your personalization to that label and then apply them by hand yourself. And that's a part of our business that's growing right now, is a lot of people who are trying to reduce their inventory levels and reduce their costs aren't buying the minimum number of SKUs that a lot of companies require. I mean, our private label division requires a minimum of 12 units of a SKU. Obviously, a lot of others are 50 and 100 and on up. Yeah. But with the blank bottle program, people can buy 1 or 2 or 3. And so if that's of interest to any of you, you can just send an email to blankbottle@joyorganics.com. And if you're interested in private label, where we, design and apply your labels, we only charge, it's like $1 to $2 more a bottle for us to do all that for you. Send an email to privatelabeL@joyorganics.com. And if you do private label, one advantage is you can get the USDA certified organic badge on your label, where if you're buying blank bottle and applying labels yourself, you can't, because the facility that's applying the label has to be certified by the USDA organic certifying agency. So
that's fun.
Yeah. So, just something for those of you to be aware of if what we offer would make sense for you.
Yeah. And that's including Delta 9 gummies, right, Todd?
Yep.
Nice. That's awesome. People, like, let's say you don't have D9 right now and you want to test that out. You can start with a bottle if you wanted to, and but of course, do more than that. But it's great to be able to test out new products. Somebody just commented, such an informative session. Thank you very much, Matt and Todd. Could you very briefly talk about pet CBD niche? Does it have too many legal issues? I know Marty Marion, my compliance officer, says it's very highly regulated compliance-wise as far as selling to pets, even more than humans, I think.
Well, if you look at it, Joy Organics labels their pet chews as pet chews. If you go to Charlotte's Web, it's pet chews. If you go to CBDMD, I believe they're called chews as well. Chews is what our law firm advised us to label them as, rather than pet treats. They felt like a pet treat would fall under the food category, where pet chews fall under a different category.
Wow.
But we've not had any issues from any regulatory agency on our pet products. Obviously we're not making any claims. There's some pet product companies that got an FDA warning letter, but they were making claims like great for fireworks and other things that the FDA viewed as claims.
Wow.
So we've gone in and cleaned up what we have on our pet pages to make sure there's no even statements like that on our website. But yeah, we've had no problems. But it's a good little category. It's a nice add-on. a lot of people who are buying CBD from us have pets, and a lot of those pets, have issues that CBD helps address. And we have a very high return order rate on our pet products. And I think it's because pets have more CB1 and CB2 receptors than humans, and they work very well on pets. So, and what we do is obviously we've got our chews, but we've got 2 tinctures, and both of those tinctures are the same as we sell to humans. There's just 2 ingredients in there. It's extra virgin olive oil and CBD. And so it's our natural human tincture is the same as we label as our pet tincture. So it's the exact same product. We just label it 2 different ways, which is.
And just a question, why do you use olive oil and not MCT oil? I used to use olive oil in all my products, and I had my reasonings, but I'm wondering why you chose that over MCT like a lot of brands do.
Well, for 2 reasons. One is an extra virgin olive oil is going to do a better job of protecting the CBD molecule than, an MCT oil, as an example, any naturally occurring oil. And most MCT oils, unless it's organic, is highly processed, and it's not going to protect the CBD molecule the same way. So you're going to have a little better effect with CBD if you're taking it with an extra virgin olive oil. But when we launched our tincture lines, we intentionally launched one with extra virgin olive oil, and it happened to be our mint and our unflavored tinctures. And then we launched 2 with MCT, which happened to be our orange and lemon. And so when we decided to do the pet, we didn't want to go and create a whole new thing with salmon, or whatever. We just knew that, the natural tincture would work great. So it just happened to have extra virgin olive oil. I wouldn't have any problem giving a pet MCT oil, but our unflavored just happened to be extra virgin olive oil at the time we made the decision to go with a pet tincture.
Gotcha. Okay. And one last question here from Audria. So are your products registered with the FDA and have an NDA?
So those are questions from people that don't understand the dietary supplement market. Nobody goes and registers their products with the FDA. If you're selling over-the-counter medicine, so if you were to take a look at example, hemp fusions, topicals where they're saying a pain cream, or CBD Medic sold by Charlotte's Web saying a pain cream, those are no different than the cream we sell that's got menthol in it because we meet the OTC monograph. But those are companies who paid to have a 6-month stability test done, and then those products then are being classified as an over-the-counter medicine. For those things, you have to register them with the FDA. But for dietary supplements, you don't register them with the FDA. If you have a manufacturing facility, you would have that registered. But the individual products, you don't register those with. You don't register them with any government agency.
Got it. Yeah, I've seen a couple brands say that in their marketing. I'm like, that's not even possible. What are they talking about? I laugh at that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
And really, if anybody puts that on their labels, they're just basically telling the FDA, ha, 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 come and get me, because right. you don't want to say things to egg on the FDA.
Don't
by saying that the product is FDA approved or FDA registered. There is no such thing.
Yeah, you're poking the bear by doing that. You don't want to wake up the sleeping giant of the FDA and get on their radar, or the FTC, or any of those 3-letter organizations. And but yeah, just to recap it, everybody, this has been a really positive talk, in my opinion, and I love what your thoughts are on this. And it echoes Marty Marion, my compliance officer. He's been working with the FDA and Shea for 35 years. He said he's been saying this for 4 years now. The FDA is going to keep dragging their heels as long as they can, and that's what's been happening. And you echo those sentiments. And so now is the time. People, stop waiting. Define your audience and capture that audience as much as you can, and own that audience, and just move forward as fast as you can. You got 3 years at least, so that's a lot of time to make a huge impact on the world and help a lot of people. And then who knows what's going to happen in 3 years. So it's just, but we do feel confident based on what Todd is saying today. We got some time here, people. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we view all this in a very positive way. Even the companies going out of business, we view that in a positive way, because we know that we're getting customers from these companies going out of business. And so by all these companies who are losing money, going out of business because they've made bad decisions and they've, done things that are creating problems for themselves. It's just gonna mean all these customers are going to go into the market and find places to land. And obviously we hope that they're going to land on us, and you're hoping they're going to land on you. And we hope you gain your market share of them, because I think, you look at Charlotte's Web, they're trading at a historic low. And the reason why is because they're just losing too much money. Where are they going to get the money? They've got to figure out a path to profitability, and they can't do it going after mass retail, because we were in mass retail, and every single contract we signed said that they can return whatever they wanted anytime they wanted and get their money back. So they could be irresponsible, place a big order, and then not sell it, and then just return it all and get their money back. So, it's very expensive, as we know firsthand at Joy Organics, very expensive servicing the retail market, and a lot of risk and a lot of liability that is absolutely not worth it. And so that's why we've pulled out now. We are no longer distributing our products to any regional or national chain, because we were losing money in every single case. And so that's part of our path to profitability, is we had to get rid of everything that wasn't profitable business for us.
I love it. Yeah, you got to know when to cut and pivot, and that's the key. And that's not always what it seems, people. Like, you see some of these huge brands in every store you go in. Guess what? They're doing that on consignment, a lot of them. They're just saying, hey, take our products, put it on the shelf. They can do that. Some of these big companies, I won't mention names, but there's a few that do that. And I don't know how, but they make it seem like, and then they use that to go get more money from investors, because they're a public company. Oh, we're in 2,000 stores, but they don't mention it's on consignment. So,
take a look at Sagely. Sagely is a beautiful brand.
Yeah, I love that brand.
I feel sorry for those gals. They should never have sold to Hemp Fusion. Hemp Fusion should never have bought them either. Hemp Fusion was a primarily topical company, and then they bought a topical company. It's like, you guys are brain dead. What are you doing? But they had a beautiful brand that I saw in a lot of stores, and they were losing money, which is probably why they had to sell to Hemp Fusion, because they were upside down, because all their distribution was retail. Hemp Fusion's distribution was retail. So now they just what Sagely jumping on Hemp Fusion did is just kind of like, you're struggling to stay afloat in the water, and somebody grabs a hold of you and pulls you under, because they're drowning too, and you go down with them. So it's unfortunate, but the big lesson there is stay out of the mass retail chains. Do not be thinking this is a path to profitability. It's a path to losing your money and going out of business right now.
Exactly. When I had my brand, I'm really good at offline distribution, and I was my own distribution company. I would never sign with a distributor, because they want 30 to 40% below your wholesale cost, and you're not making any margins that way. So if, let's say you can sell to mom and pops, then go for it, as long as they're paying you up front for that product and you think it's going to move if that audience is there. But it's tricky, people. So you really have to understand what you're doing. And I say go online. Your margins are much better. People can buy online. And with COVID hitting, people are even more used to buying online. The sales went way down during COVID, and sales went way up for a lot of brands online. And so just keep promoting your online stuff. Your margins are much better that way, less headaches. And so thanks for your time, Todd. And this has been I think this has been the best talk that I've ever done in CBD business success, as far as really valuable information. So really appreciate you and your time, and hopefully we can do this again in a few weeks or something.
Happy to do it, Matt. And thank you all for taking your time to join us here today. We appreciate you, and we look forward to trying to help you in any way we can. So don't hesitate to reach out if there's something that we can do.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me or Todd. If you didn't, or what's the email again to get with you if they want a private label info?
My email address is todd@joyorganics.com. But if you're interested in private label, email privatelabel@joyorganics.com. And if you're interested in blank bottle, email blankbottle@joyorganics. And if you're interested in wholesale, you would email wholesale@joyorganics.com. And by the way, wholesale is a great way for you guys to grow your businesses. We definitely, we're growing our wholesale program. And I know a lot of brands, that are local, that have gone to all the vape shops and all the independent pharmacies and independent stores and getting their brands out in those stores. So, obviously it requires you to get outside your comfort zone. And, that's why most people don't do anything that requires them to get outside their comfort zone. It's also why discipline is the most valuable of all attributes you can have, because it's one that very few people have. But if you've got the discipline to get out and push yourself outside your comfort zone, you've got some great opportunities to grow your brand locally.
Yeah. And if you have passion, people, and your products, I used to go to 25 stores a day in Southern California, and I would get 1 or 2 every day as a new account. And it's not easy, but hey, if you do that every day for months and months, then you got 50, 100 accounts eventually. So it's just, but you got to get out of the comfort zone. It's not fun when people tell you, no, I'm not interested, or yeah, we already got already got products, whatever. You're going to get rejected, but it's fine. It's just move on to the next one and keep on plugging away and just believe in what you do, and you'll get the accounts going. And I'm happy to help on that too. You can always reach out to me. And if you want to get my opinion on Todd and Joy and my experience with them, reach out. I'll tell you they're the best. And so thanks again, Todd. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll be talking again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everybody.